Good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's virtual candidate interview for the 35th State Senate District Special Election. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us this morning and share your perspective on the issues that impact our region. Today's conversation is an opportunity to learn more about the priorities as the voters prepare for the upcoming election. We're excited to partner with the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, the Midland Business Alliance, and the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce to host this, and we welcome you and thank you for being here today. First up today, Chris Velasquez, candidate for the 35th District. We're so happy that you are here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm always pleased to be able to join the chambers and the business community. It's a space where I'm tremendously comfortable and believe I'm the right candidate to represent.
Wonderful. Well, I will start with our first question. In 3 minutes or less, please outline your platform, why you are running, what qualifications you possess as a policymaker, and can you also describe why you believe what you believe this position would entail?
Thank you, Megan. Yes, I'm Chris Velasquez, and I've lived in this region for over 34 years. I was recruited out of school to come up here to work for Dow Corning. I did come up here as an engineer, and I got to do lots of things at Dow Corning, eventually getting my MBA from Michigan State. Go green. I know you guys can't say go white, so I'll say go white for you.
Go white.
Go white.
And switched over onto the business side of things. And at Dow Corning, while we were a big corporation, we actually had pretty small operations in lots of spaces, including government and community affairs. So I got to do lots of things and represent the company, including in the chambers. So I served on the state chamber board for 2 terms, 6 years, lobbying for business issues in Lansing. And I've been members of all 3 of these great institutions right here that are represented on the chambers and in these 3 counties, and served on committees and been a participant for those 3 decades. So representing business and growing this community is part of my key platform. We need to get back to a growth mindset, and growth happens in the private sector, and that happens through business, both manufacturing and service and retail, and the chambers and economic development entities in this region are critical in fostering that and helping with the state. So Lansing doesn't create jobs; it can only create the environment to do that. And again, that's the number 1 platform is the economy. The second platform is education. I do have that engineering background. I also mentioned about Dow Corning, and I got to lead our Dow Corning Foundation for 9 years, and through that, I ended up being on the state STEM council and making recommendations for 10 years to the legislature and the governor for educational improvements. And that's both trades and professional. And what we found is we actually stumbled upon a path, I think more than stumbled, because we had a lot of scientists there, but researched on paths to get to competency-based learning, which actually would also help literacy. So driving improved education, that's number 2 platform. And the third platform is energy. Energy has become a critical issue. So when we talk about growth, Michigan is now in the bottom 5 states for energy reliability and moving towards the top in energy affordability. So not affordable in Michigan. And we need to get back on the right track for affordable and reliable energy. And that I have the background as I worked in a gas-fired power plant to put myself through school, and then through Dow Corning in both solar and wind. I have experience across all energies. I served on my university which had a nuclear, and energy is a critical element for us to grow business and get this region on the right path again.
Thank you, Chris. Eugene here. I'll be asking the second question. What are the 3 most important issues facing the 35th State Senate District today? And how would you suggest those issues be addressed?
Yeah, so I guess I addressed that in that first one. So it's the economy. It's leaving more money in our pockets. So this year they rolled back the federal impact to our local businesses, and that raised taxes on businesses across Michigan to the tune of $2 billion. We need to put that back in place to help our businesses be able to hire employees and to invest in the region for growth. Um, Out on the doors and out in the community, I'm hearing a lot of talk about property taxes. We have a home shortage in the region, and we need to keep our seniors in the homes, but we also need the young folks transitioning into the workforce to be able to get into that home. And that pop-up tax on property tax is really preventing young people from being able to afford homes. So we need to address property tax reform. It's been since '94 since we last did that, and we are now seeing how far it's gone, and we need to address that. Property taxes, business taxes, and the income tax increase from 4% to 4.25%. And if we do the math on how much the budget's grown in the last few years, we could give about $4 billion back to residents by also cutting that income tax to 3.75. So that's part of the economy piece. The education piece, again, I come back to that STEM council, and we settled on in grade school, it's play based or place based, and then it moves into problem based, and then it moves into project based learning. And that's the best way humans learn is by doing and incorporating multiple facets. So it's a 21st century style of learning. We're still running schools like we're in the farm-based economy of the 19th and 20th century, and it's time to move to the 21st century. Phonics is part of that in the K through 3 or K through 4 grades. So we have literacy as a base. Being a STEM person, numeracy goes along with that. And then, as I mentioned, the competency base. So that's how we would do education. And the last is energy. We have to roll back the mandates. We're not the best state for solar and wind to be our reliable main base. We have to keep our coal plants online until we can transform into gas and the new nuclear that's out there, so that we have an affordable and reliable energy base to grow industry, but also to have affordable and reliable energy to so our folks can afford it and stay here and grow here.
Great. Thank you, Chris, and thanks for being with us today. As business organizations, we're obviously all focused on business success, and that's the key part of that is public policy that's business friendly. How would you describe a business friendly environment?
All right, and again, I just talked about that in the tax base on business friendly. And let me jump back all the way to the first question. After Dow Corning, I was involved in a small business, and Tony even knows this one, Impact Analytical, which no one was sure it would make it. It was in the red, and we joined that and focused where we were doing marketing, and we kept our doors open, and we ended up growing 40% a year for multiple years. But again, we need the environment to allow that to happen. During COVID, that was not an easy thing when government unnecessarily shut businesses down. Now, we learned how to take advantage of it, but that's something that we shouldn't have done. We hampered all kinds of small businesses, and most jobs are created by small business. So I come from a big business where you try to do it as efficiently as possible, and small businesses need to add bodies to grow. At Impact Analytical, we grew from 17 to 50 jobs, and that's kind of typical of a small business and growth mode. And those are what we want to foster. So and making sure we have the environment, there's not too much red tape from Lansing, and that the tax base is right, and that our local support is there to help them grow.
All right, thank you so much. If elected, how do you envision working with the business community?
Well, I'm going to come to all the chamber events like I do now. You go to where the people are to listen to them. I'm even doing that. Well, I've always done that. I love to go out and tour the businesses and understand what we have in the region. We've done construction and manufacturing and retail and restaurants. Every business has something to learn and a story to tell. And when you sit down with them, you hear from them. So it's being accessible to people. I know I'm not the expert in everything, so we have to come back to find the experts. And I know that each of you will be a critical resource in helping connect with businesses in the spaces where we're talking about policy. So I thank you for doing this and being involved in policy because as ABC says, if you're not into politics, then you're going out of business, right? So we need that communication open to help the business community.
Thank you. And also to tag along with Megan's question, also if elected, how do you expect to approach the process of crafting a state budget? And what is your general philosophy on spending and taxation?
Well, interestingly, right, for this special election, really that is the number one thing this person is going to do. So this person, the election's May 5th. Hopefully it gets certified and you get settled into Lansing by the end of May, and you will immediately be thrown into the annual budget discussion. So that is the number one thing. People have been asking me on the campaign, what's the first bill you're going to propose? Well, you're a freshman legislator, and I know how this works. You don't get to throw everything out there right away as a freshman, just like high school or college or wherever you're a freshman, you have to earn your keep. But you will be in the space to negotiate with the budget and vote on the budget. And actually, that's one of the reasons I'm running is because I think we needed that voice for our region in the budget for 2025. And I have experience in doing that in a large corporation. People think that comes easily. It does not. You have a fight for your budget and a negotiation on your budget every year from November until it's settled in January. Well, it could be different time for different companies. For us, that's what it was. I have experience in negotiating budgets and listening to people. Ultimately, I think in government, we should do zero-based budgeting, and we should track each section of that budget and say, is it doing what we think it should be doing, and how much should we be spending on there, because you should be making priorities. So I have that experience. I have a basis on how I'd like to approach it. I know as a freshman, I can jump right in and contribute in that space, and will be a vote and a voice for our region in the budget process.
Great, thank you again. Chris, do you have any specific areas of interest that we haven't covered that you would like to touch base on and share?
I'll come back to that energy piece, and I did talk about energy, but we have a big discussion going on about data centers right now. And it's really easy for everyone to grab their pitchforks and say no data centers, but every one of us is using a phone and chat GPT and figuring out how to use AI to help us in our businesses and our personal lives. So we're driving the demand for data centers. They're going to exist, and they're going to exist somewhere. Because I also have that engineering background, I believe that you can solve those problems. But before we get there, we have to talk about our energy policy. We have to have affordable and reliable energy. We have to know that those data centers aren't going to drive up our energy costs, that we're putting competition into the mix so that we bring our energy system and our energy infrastructure along before we do that. That's going to be a critical issue, and it's popping up everywhere. It's really easy for everyone to say no. I'm going to say I have the background and the tools to actually help negotiate our way through that on both the energy and business side. And I think there can be positives for our community because it does create jobs and it does create tax base, and it can help our communities move back on the growth path.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate that. And thank you for your insightful interview, for spending time with us today. We really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
That's great.
Chris.
I also want to thank Megan and Eugene for joining us for the interview. And this is really a team collaborative effort. Thanks to Diane Middleton for coordinating all of our interviews. And thank you for joining us. We appreciate your interest, investment in your time. as you prepare to cast your vote. Whether it's on February 3rd or before February 3rd, we just encourage you to make sure that you're informed and you make your voice heard. And so please watch the other videos we're preparing. Share these videos with your friends and neighbors who may not know that we've got a primary coming up on February 3rd. And again, our thanks and have a great day.
Hello and welcome to all of our viewers. I'm Megan Saman, President and CEO of the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Midland Business Alliance and the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce, we are pleased to bring you this recorded interview as we head into the February 3rd special election for the 35th State Senate seat. This is an opportunity for our viewers to get to know the candidates through the lens of business and economic development. Joining me this morning is Tony Samas, President and CEO of the Midland Business Alliance, and Eugene Seals Jr., President and CEO of the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce. And today we are interviewing candidate Dr. Pamela Pugh. Welcome, Pamela. We're going to get started. So excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. In 3 minutes or less, can you please outline your platform, why you are running, what qualifications you possess as a policymaker, and also can you describe what you believe this position would entail?
Sure. So I am Pamela Pugh. I've grown up in this district 54 years of my 55 years of life, and I have gone away to school, received my Bachelor's of Science degree in chemical engineering, a doctorate and a Master's of Science in public health from University of Michigan. And I have committed that work to service for a very limited time. I worked at Dow Chemical and DuPont, practicing my chemical engineering background, but I continue to be drawn to public health. And with a public health lens, being able to build a broad cross-sector of community to address issues from public health to public education to economic opportunity for all. I worked at the Saginaw County Health Department for 14 years. My work was mainly focused on children's environmental health. And while we were addressing public health, children's environments where they live, learn, work, or live, learn, and play, where their parents work, we were also able to build economic opportunity for our small businesses and our local businesses, from window suppliers to window manufacturers to our hardware stores, making sure that millions of dollars that I was able to help write and garner those dollars from our federal government and other funders, that those dollars flowed through our business community. I was called based on my background to work in Flint as the chief public health advisor, where I was again able to put forward with a public health lens, a health in all policies approach to decision making. That can mean anything from making sure we have the adequate supports to address public health, but also bringing in labor and business to address those issues. Listen, my focus is on economic opportunity for all, ensuring that from the residents to our businesses, that we don't have to bear the brunt of cost burdens from utilities to other cost burdens, but also making sure that we're addressing healthcare costs, childcare. And again, with the public health lens, I see how these things are all intertwined. Of course, you all know that I'm president of the State Board of Education. With the State Board of Education, we've seen our highest dollars funding for CTE, career tech education. And I've really evolved in my thinking around this, but really seeing how business, again, works together with our education, making sure that our children are able to have the best future that they can possibly have. Also, looking at how business, we've recently had our economic models on how we make sure that we fund schools, and that has been a broad collaborative around those issues. So I see from experience in working with our legislators exactly what needs to happen. This district has gone over a year without representation. We need someone who can hit the ground running. And making sure that we know how to work with our legislators. And I've done that. I see Mr. Thomas on the line, but we've done that, whether we're talking about public health, public education, and economic opportunity. So I don't know where I am with my 3 minutes. If anybody's waving, I can't see.
No,
I was trying to get it all in, and I could go farther.
You did fantastic. Thank you.
yes. No. Thank you, Pamela, and thanks as well for you being with us today. Can you kind of talk about really what you would identify as your three most important issues for the 35th Senate District, and then how you would suggest those issues be addressed?
So again, economic opportunities for working families. It doesn't matter if I'm in Saginaw, if I'm in Bay, if I'm in Midland. We are talking about economic opportunities for all, but also that also, again, addresses, we're dealing with cost burdens, making sure that we are able to prepare our young people as well as people my age, older people, making sure that we're prepared for the jobs that are there now, but also the jobs that are to come, making sure that we're reducing cost, again, the cost burden. Infrastructure is something that I worked on in Flint, going from here to Washington, D.C., even in a Trump administration, having to look to see how we address infrastructure and how our infrastructure, our aging infrastructure, also looking at how we continue to build policy that helps us to gain the revenue to address our infrastructure. Again, housing and healthcare. I, again, with the healthcare lens, understand, public health lens, understand that when we all have healthcare, that we don't have to be concerned about how do we go to work sick? Do we get the medicine that we need? So really advancing a healthcare for all, childcare and preschool care that is universal, and that again helps the business community. These are models that we looked at when I was working with Mahia and the Economic Alliance there. So I will wrap that up, the three: economic opportunity for all, jobs, and making sure that we have people who are prepared for those jobs. Infrastructure. I think that those are opportunities for their work opportunities, but also addressing our infrastructure needs. And I'm just going to look at, and I guess with infrastructure, we can look at housing, but also healthcare and childcare access, if I could bundle those into one.
Well, thank you again, and thank you for being here. The next question is, as organizations focus on business success, we favor public policy that is business friendly. How would you define business friendly?
How would I define business friendly? I think that I do agree. I will say when we talk about red tape, Jocelyn Benson was here and we walked around the SVRC and we were talking to some of the business owners there and just talking about how do we help to move forward and help businesses, first of all, to get through red tape to even become a business, get business licenses. I think that is critical. I will repeat, I think some of the same issues that I'm talking about when I'm talking about cost burden to residents and households and working families can go for our businesses, whether we're seeing cost burden that's shifted off to our businesses and or to residents, and so addressing those needs as well. So also working with MEDC to make sure that we are a priority. And if anyone knows me, they know that I'm a fighter and I love this community, but I also know how to advocate for our communities. You won't have a bigger cheerleader. And I know as a statewide elected official, I've been able to work with communities across this state, including when we were in Flint, going to Washington, D.C., to make sure that we were creating legislation and creating dollars to make sure that that community was prioritized. Again, working with our federal government, working with our state government to make sure that we are prioritized as a region. And I think that that's what creates the opportunity for us to be business friendly.
Thank you so much. And just to add on to that, if elected, how would you envision working within the business community?
I would be eager to meet with the business community as often as the business community would hear from me. And as I've worked with a broad sector of people, and people know me for bringing coalitions together that otherwise don't necessarily always feel as if that I'm not going to say what I will say is they have the same priorities, which is people. I can say that about our business community and some of these other constituency, but the approach may be different. But bringing those groups together to help us work together for the urgent needs that we have in our communities. And like I said, I would hope to be able to meet regularly, but also help to bring across a sector of people along to have the hard discussions to move us forward because we have some urgent needs. And I think that I'll take away that word think. I know that we have been ignored in this area, unlike how I've moved around the state and seen other areas be able to really speak loudly, boldly, and advocate for their communities. And I want to be that voice and that loud voice to grab a hold in meeting with the business community of what the needs are, and then taking those needs to funders and those people who are making those decisions.
Thank you.
A tag along from the last question, but also if elected, how do you expect to approach the process of crafting a state budget? And what is your general philosophy on spending and taxation?
So I have been a part of advocating for budgets, right? So we've been a part of the process. Uh, just last week, the Department of Education put out our priorities. We came together, we hire the person who's the voice of those priorities, and then we go in, we're talking to legislators and making sure that we are putting those priorities forward. So as a legislator, being able to hear from the the business communities, the other constituencies, and being able to make sure that we are speaking loudly for our community and that we have all the supports that we need to promote that budget and moving that budget forward that prioritizes our community. I think the other parts of your conversations was about taxation. I think having the conversations around what are the needs within our state, and how the business community can help to to bring balance to those conversations. So as far as how the business community feels that taxation impacts them, and then how that plays out. In particular, I'm talking about schools. We have these conversations around the needs of schools, but really having those hard conversations together and being able to promote a unified plan, and as a legislator, carrying that plan forward.
Great, thank you. Just lastly, do you have any specific areas of interest that we haven't covered yet that you'd like to touch on?
I think there are various committees that I would be able to sit on, and I think people would see me on an education committee or a health committee, but I really would like to focus on economic development because I do believe that my background brings a unique set of thought, as well as working with a broad cross sector of our community, including the business community, to the health community, to the school community, that then helps us, Eugene, to be able to get a better handle on the last question that you asked me. So I think that probably would be it, that I would say.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, again, our great appreciation for really an insightful interview. We appreciate Dr. Pamela Pugh joining us. We want to thank our viewers that are out watching there. Please consider sharing these videos as we're preparing, and make sure that before or by February 3rd, you get out and cast your vote on the special primary election. So thanks for being with us. Have a great day. Hello and welcome to all our viewers. I'm Tony Stamas, President and CEO of the Midland Business Alliance. On behalf of the Bay Area and Saginaw County Chambers of Commerce and the Midland Business Alliance, we're pleased to bring you this recorded interview as we head into the February 3rd special primary election for the 35th state Senate seat. This is an opportunity for our viewers to get to know the candidates through the lens of business and economic development. Now, joining me this morning are Megan Saman, President and CEO of the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, and Eugene Seals Jr., President and CEO of the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce. And we're interviewing Jason Tunney. Welcome, Jason.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being with us. All right, we'll get started. Can you start off with, in 3 minutes or less, outline your platform, why you're running, and what qualifications you possess as a policymaker, and also describing what you believe this position would entail?
In 3 minutes, that might be a challenge. I'll start with policy. I think it starts with education. We are 44th amongst the 50 states in 4th grade literacy right now. It doesn't look like it's getting any better. We're 31st in 8th grade math. This is a crisis issue facing this state for the economy, for the future of business in this state, and I think, quite honestly, for the future of democracy. We need educated citizens. That is our duty as a state, to educate our citizens. And like I said, to educate our workforce. Going around talking to business leaders, they're telling me, Jason, we used to interview 1 out of 6, 1 out of 8 we would hire after interviews. That number's hot, like 1 out of 22 now. Jason, we've got young people coming to us. They don't know how to read instruments and gauges. They can't read a tape measure because they can't do fractions. So from a business standpoint, we've got to get education right. Public safety. Former prosecuting attorney, worked in the prosecuting attorney's office in Saginaw. Definitely support the police. Definitely support law enforcement, public safety. That's what we want and need in our communities. We need safe communities. And then, just like any other good Republican, I think we're overregulated and we're overtaxed. Everywhere I go, I hear from business leaders, I hear from developers. They talk about Eagle and how difficult it is to work with Eagle and how Eagle is not business friendly. And then I talk about taxes. Our state income tax on a personal level was 4%. It went up to 4.25%. Indiana's is 3%. I think we can be more tax friendly in this state. Our corporate income tax rate is 6%. Indiana's is 4.9%. So in 3 minutes, those are the big 4 issues that I would talk to about.
Thank you, Jason. Eugene Seals, Saginaw Chamber. My next question is, what are the 3, maybe you have already mentioned some of these, but what are the 3 most important issues facing the 35th State Senate District today? And how would you suggest we tackle those issues?
Well, I talked about education, and I think as a state, when we talk about what we can do as a state, attacking that issue, the legislature controls a lot of the budget. and weighs in on a lot of the budget. And we need to direct more of our budget funding to early intervention reading, teaching teachers best-in-class methods, how to teach that reading to students. I believe that as a state, we need to learn some of the lessons from states like Indiana and Mississippi. Mississippi has a third grade reading exam, which they take very, very seriously. I believe we need to reinstitute a third grade reading exam to ensure competency. And that's not to punish kids, but we have to ensure competency. Absenteeism, we've got to continue the fight on chronic absenteeism in this state from an education level. Indiana's chronic absentee rate is about 16.8%. Ours is in excess of 26%. Those are things where the state legislature can start weighing in on and providing funding for. Going around, talk about public safety, talk about taxes, talk about regulations. Let's make the bureaucracy in Lansing more responsive to the governor and more responsive to the legislature. That way, I think we can start making those bureaucratic departments like Eagle more business friendly. Obviously, we want to be a business friendly state. And then the third one that we can attack from the legislature is energy and the cost of energy in this state. This is an issue that has to be addressed. Affordability and reliability of energy are huge issues in this state. We are not doing a good enough job there. And I think the legislature needs to look into the fact that Consumers Energy and DTE control 90% of the energy market in this state. And as a free market Republican, I believe that competition is better for the consumer. It's better for our small business owners.
Thank you so much for that, Jason. The follow-up to your comment regarding business friendly, as organizations focused on business success, we favor public policy that is business friendly. How would you define business friendly?
So I grew up in a small business. My family business that I grew up in, that I worked at, was Duralast. And so often we would sit around and we would talk about the regulations from Lansing and how the bureaucrats don't understand what it's like to run a small business, what it's like to work in a small business. One of the things I think we need to double down on, if you will, is the effort by, like, one of our good representatives, Bill G. Schutte in Midland, the Reduction of Red Tape Act, something that has started, it's gaining ground, it's gaining momentum. We need to reduce red tape for businesses. Business is not the enemy. Business is not an evil thing. We need business. Small businesses create jobs. Entrepreneurs create jobs. We don't need more laws on the books. We just need the laws that we need on the books. We need to enforce those laws that we have on the books. It is not the job of legislature to just simply go in and pass laws and see how many laws and statutes that we can pass in a session. That's not business friendly. That's not good for the consumer because it makes it too burdensome and too overly regulatory to figure out, and what do we have to do now? And who do we have to check with now? And what bureaucracy or what department or what agency do we need to check with now? So that's what I would do, which is the Reduction of Red Tape Act, and be very judicious about the legislation that we are passing.
Great. Thank you, Jason. So if elected, how would you envision practically working with the business community?
Well, I think first and foremost, we've got to have an ear. We've got to be responsive. And growing up in a small business, we had a rule of get a call in a day, return that call in a day. Worst case scenario, you're returning that call within 24 hours. So I think you've got to be responsive. You've got to meet with your members of the chamber. You've got to meet with business owners, and they have to have an open line to you. It's not just about having an office in Saginaw, having an office in Bay, having an office in Midland. It's about getting out there, getting into the community, talking to people in the community, talking to business leaders of all sizes. I'm a big proponent of all business is good. Small business is good. Entrepreneurs are good. And that's really where we start generating growth in business in this state is at that grassroots granular level. And what I want to do is I want to make this state more business friendly for everybody, not just the General Motors and Fords of the world that are too big to fail, to coin a phrase that we all remember from 2008. I want our state to be as responsive to the small business owner as they are to the giant corporations that have made this state great.
Thank you. If elected, how do you expect to approach the process of crafting a state budget? What is your general philosophy on spending and taxation?
My general philosophy on spending and taxation comes from my time at Duralast, at a small family-owned business. And we have the same constraints. We're watching our bottom line. We're watching our profitability. We're watching our margins. We're watching the price of raw materials go up. We're watching the price of overhead and of labor going up. And we couldn't just raise prices every time that we got a price increase passed on to us, or if the cost of labor went up. In business, you're constantly looking and trying to find ways to become more efficient, more lean, more nimble, right? Sometimes you've got to make cuts in a business. And sometimes those cuts, at first, at face value, not always real appealing to everybody. But you've got to do what you've got to do. And I think state government has gotten into the habit of just trying to pass along tax increases or finding sources of additional revenue instead of looking at places to cut and tighten the belt. So that's my general philosophy, Megan. You got to belt tighten first before you can go for price increases. And price increases for our citizens and our businesses, those are taxes.
All right. Our last question for you today. Do you have any specific areas of interest that we haven't covered already that you would like to share with us?
Well, I talked about education. I talked about public safety. I talked about energy. Those are things that I'm passionate about, that the citizens in the district are very passionate about. I have a couple of, pet projects that I'm very, very passionate about. And the first one that comes to mind is this district. The good citizens of most of Midland and Bay and Saginaw County have been without a state senator for today 382 days. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's democratic. And I propose that if I get a chance in the legislature, what I'm going to propose is that if those citizens don't have a representative or a state senator for pick a date, 180 days, 120 days, 90 days, 200 days, 300 days, that those citizens don't have to pay their state of Michigan income taxes for that year. Because it's fundamentally un-American. It's fundamentally undemocratic, and it's not right. And that's the whole reason that I'm in this race. I had that moment when I was sitting at home and I realized, I'm saying to my wife, they're going to expect me to pay my taxes to the state of Michigan for all of 2025. And I've been without a state senator. This was back in April. So at that point, it had only been for 4 months. And I think that's wrong. I think that it's politics. It's an abuse of the democratic process. I think that is not right for the citizens of this district. And I don't want that to happen again to anybody in this state, especially the citizens of this district. And so I want to get their attention by saying, if they don't have a representative for 180 days or pick a number of days, that those people don't have to pay their state of Michigan taxes for 2025. I think that will motivate governors to call for special elections, and that will restore the democratic process. So I'm very passionate about that. Thank you for your question, Eugene.
Jason, thank you for your time today. This wraps up our questions for today, and we'd like to thank you again for your insightful, enlightening, and interesting interview. Thank you for spending this time with us. We also like to thank our viewers for watching and consider sharing these videos that we're preparing for you. Be sure that you're ready to cast your vote on February 3rd, our special primary election. Thank you again.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers. I'm Tony Stamas, President and CEO of the Midland Business Alliance. On behalf of the Midland Business Alliance and Bay Area and Saginaw County Chambers of Commerce, we're pleased to bring you this recorded interview as we head into the February 3rd special primary election for the 35th state Senate seat. This is an opportunity for our viewers to get to know the candidates through the lens of business and economic development. Joining me this morning are Megan Saman, President and CEO of the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, and Eugene Seals Jr., President and CEO of the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce. And today we're going to be interviewing Chedrick Greene. So welcome, Chedrick. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Megan, Eugene.
We'll get started. Chedrick, just to begin, in about 3 minutes or less, can you outline your platform, why you're running, your qualifications that you possess as a policymaker, and touch on describe what you think this position would entail?
So once again, good morning or good afternoon to all. Thank you for the opportunity. Why am I running? Over the course of my adulthood, I've always stepped up for what's important. And what's most important right now is working families in Michigan to have a working class leader that they can trust to fight for them in Lansing. Standing up for us and standing up to extremists. You know, my parents moved here from the Jim Crow South in the early 70s, and there were abundant opportunities here in Michigan. And I want to restore those opportunities, making life more affordable, safe, and free, so that more of our working and middle-class families can thrive in this district, in our state. In the affordability costs, we look at lowering costs, creating good-paying jobs, cutting taxes on working families and middle class, and not just millionaires. I want to make our community safe schools, safe place to work, safe places to worship in, and safe communities, and just protecting our fundamental freedoms, our constitutional rights, our civil rights. You know, these are some of the same rights that I fought for while serving 30 years in the United States Marine Corps. I want to be able to have that affordability, safety, and fight for those freedoms here in our own district and in our state. So that's why I'm running. I want to run to restore opportunities for our working class families and bring good paying jobs here.
Thank you, Chedrick. Again, welcome, and we appreciate you taking the time. The next question is, what are the three most important issues facing the 35th Senate District, State Senate District today? And how do you suggest those issues be addressed?
Like I said, it's a cyclical thing. There are quite a few issues. Once again, we wrap those into my top three priorities. Most notable in affordability. Cost of homes are going up. In some places, the lack of affordable housing. In other places, an abundance of homes that can be renovated that cost maybe just as much as some homes. We're dealing with healthcare costs are increasing. We're dealing with prescription drug costs increasing. We're dealing with going to the grocery store for our everyday working class person going up consistently. A lot of these federal implications of tariffs on a lot of the goods that we consume as consumers are taking a toll on our everyday pocketbooks. So bringing in affordability, working on our safety, right? If we're talking about business sense, bringing in jobs here, so our skilled laborers have the opportunity to work here in our district, we have to look at a multitude of things, right? We want safe communities, so those outside entities that are looking at Mid-Michigan and looking at Michigan see this as an attractive place. We have to look at our schools, continue to fund our public education, look at philanthropic things, things of interest, things that people have to do while they're living here, making a home for themselves and building strong communities here.
Great. Thank you so much. As organizations focused on business, we favor public policy that is considered business friendly. How would you define business friendly?
Well, one, working on regulations that burden a lot of our business. This area has more small businesses than it does our large manufacturing businesses. So working on regulations that help cut the red tape, so these businesses can focus on running their business and not having to worry about being over-regulated with things. 70% of our district has individuals that make $60,000 a year or less, right? And so when we talk about these small businesses, helping them to survive in these economic times, right? We need to have workers who are making quality pay, good benefits, so they can have that disposable income to go out and make sure that we're visiting our local restaurants, shopping in our local shops, buying our local coffees, these things. So working on attracting shovel-ready projects here in this district is also another way that we can look at strengthening business community here.
Great, thank you. So kind of building off on that question, how would you envision working with the business community on a day-to-day basis over the legislative term?
I think for businesses to thrive here, we have to work on retaining and attracting talent along with the jobs and physical investments, kind of like I was saying earlier. Looking at how we have shovel-ready projects that are ready to go, so when we do have the opportunity to draw in those businesses, we have the platform here. We have the best skilled trade laborers in this district that are able to build buildings that we need. We have the workforce working with our community colleges, Delta College, and working with Saginaw Valley to develop more workforce development programs to make sure that those students that we have in this district that are going to school here, we retain here, but they have to be here because there's job opportunities here for them to begin to raise a family. So the things that I can do to act as a legislator will be those things to make sure that we are putting steps in place to make sure that when businesses are looking at Michigan, most notably Mid-Michigan, Senate District 35, that these things are ready, so we can go right to them and say, we're ready. We have safe communities. We have the workforce. We have the laborers. Everything is set. Accessibility. We have land. Let's go. Mid-Michigan is the place where you want to come to build your business.
Thank you. To kind of piggyback on Tony's question, if elected, how do you expect to approach the process of crafting a state budget? And what is your general philosophy on spending and taxation?
So the first part in crafting a state budget, we want to make sure that we are bringing dollars, our tax dollars, back to this district. So, whatever we can do to make sure that we're putting funds back into our taxpayers' pockets is one of the ways that we help craft the budget. But also making sure that we are putting money in places into our chambers and other entities that help promote this region as a place where businesses can come. And those businesses that are here, once again, when we talk about retaining people, we also want to retain the businesses that we have here. That would be the easiest thing, just working hard, talking with our partners, talking with the all three entities here with me today and other entities that focus on making sure that our business community is represented and their concerns are heard. So taking those concerns, picking up the phone to either answer the call from a business entity or calling that business entity to say, how does this legislation impact you, and how do we make this problem and the solution equitable for all, so we can get the things that we need for this district put in place and bringing money back to this district so we can continue to expand on processes that are already in place. What was your second part again?
What is your general philosophy on spending and taxation?
Spending and taxation. Well, we all have to have a budget, right? So maintaining the budget standards, right? Doing what we can to make sure that the tax dollars that are coming into our state are spent efficiently on projects and other things that are being most impactful to the majority of the people. Working on roads, once again, working on public schools, working on affordable housing are all efficient ways that we can tie that into the business community to make sure that we are doing what we're doing with taxpayer dollars. That's business taxes, personal taxes, all those things, funneling those things into the budget to make sure that we are spending that money efficiently and getting the best bang for our buck that we can, sort of say, with individuals.
Great, thank you. Do you have any specific areas of interest that we haven't covered already that you'd like to discuss?
Not necessarily interest. What I look at is I work on approaching not only this process of campaigning, but getting into the legislation as a holistic approach. Cyclical cycle of almost what comes first, the chicken of it or the egg. There are many things that we can do to make sure that we are putting things in place. Do we attract businesses first, or do we work on affordable housing first? These things are all interwoven in together. So making sure that we are not just spinning our wheels, that we're concentrating on efforts to bring all these things together so we can make this district a place that, one, when our young people graduate from college, they're not looking to go elsewhere because we have the jobs here, we have the workforce here, we have the affordable housing, we have the good quality schools, our roads are being worked on locally. So I think just that having that approach, and that comes from 30 years in the Marines, we always have what we call COAs, courses of action, where you start at one place, and if something should change, you're able to quickly pivot or shift to the second COA. So really bringing that mindset into our planning and how myself and my team would approach legislation that enacts this district completely, because we are all these great three business alliances here coming together. It's the same thing we have to continually do because we are interdependent on one another in Saginaw Bay and Midland County. So focusing on that, making sure we have plans, and if that plan doesn't go right, being able to quickly pivot to the next plan to help continue bringing resources, dollars, and people to our district.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your insightful comments with us and sharing with us about your campaign. And thank you, viewers, for watching, and consider sharing these videos as we are preparing for the upcoming election. Please make sure to vote on February 3rd for the special, and we look forward to hearing more from you later, Chedrick. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome to all of our viewers. I'm Eugene Seals Jr., President and CEO of the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Bay Area and Saginaw County Chambers of Commerce and the Midland Business Alliance, we are pleased to bring to you this recorded interview as we head into the special primary election for the 35th State Senate seat. This is an opportunity for our viewers to get to know the candidates through the lens of business and economic development. Joining me this morning are Megan Saban, President and CEO of the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, and Tony Stamas, President and CEO of the Midland Business Alliance. And we're interviewing candidate Serenity Hope Salak. Welcome, Serenity, and let's get started. In 3 minutes or less, outline your platform and why you are running and what qualifications you possess as a policymaker. Also, can you describe what you believe this position would entail?
So, if we go back to the very beginning of electoral democracy. We are electing representatives that represent us. They are people who have the same interests in mind. They come from our community. They're propped up and they are supported by members of the local community. And I want a return to that. I want dark money out of politics. I want special interest groups reined in. I'm running because it is imperative that we give American families, working class families, the tools they need to rise up out of their socioeconomic circumstances. Nobody should be living paycheck to paycheck when we have billionaires out there. What this means is ensuring that every working class family has access to healthcare, universal healthcare, through payroll deductions, making sure that every working class family has access to childcare so that they can go to a job or retrain for a job if the career or job choice that they originally started somehow disappears, right? And so that looks like a universal childcare system that's propped up and housed within our neighborhood schools and existing community centers. I am also a proponent, as we all should be, for self-determination and dignity. We have seen our rights as U.S. citizens and guests here in the country have our rights to self-determination and dignity trampled on. And as a mother, as a teacher, as a caseworker, as somebody who's always showed up to lift other people up, I can't stand by idly. If you see injustice in the world and you do nothing, if you are complacent, then you are part of the problem. One of the reasons that I decided to run is that I felt helpless and I refused to feel helpless. And I know that many Michiganders feel helpless right now. And the antidote to despair is action, right? So running for office, organizing in your communities, teaching your children and your neighbors about the power they have that they might not even know that they possess in picking their elected leaders and organizing in a way that benefits all of us in the Tri-Cities. And I also want to inspire other people to run. I'm a normal person. We are in my craft room. My kids are playing with balloons, and my heart is pit-patting, waiting for one of them to just explode right now. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that anyone can run for office. There's not a job description that they hand you. It costs $100, and then you file paperwork. And my idea, my hope, is that other people see this Midwestern mom come out of this alive and want to do it too.
Great. Thank you so much. The next question is, what are the three most important issues facing the 35th District State Senate seat, and how would you suggest those issues be addressed?
So I believe that the most concerning issues are one, we need universal health care. We do a lot of campaigning at the bar. Like, honestly, go sit at a bar. Anybody can write policy. Like, go to your neighborhood bar and have a Coke, because I don't drink, but and talk to the people who are on the bar stools next to you, and they'll tell you exactly what we need. Universal health care. We should not be having medical debt. Nobody should have medical debt. Medical debt suppresses growth, right? When we are paying debts that are imaginary, like the services have already been rendered, right? When we're paying that debt, that leaves less money to grow our local economies. The same with childcare. If we don't have a childcare system in place that's affordable and accessible and reliable, then people can't go to work and they cannot retrain for the positions that they would otherwise find, right? That they would otherwise go into because There's simply not the know-how and the skills. Like, we have jobs, they're just not the jobs that match the skills here in the Great Lakes Bay Area. And we can change that. We can make retraining affordable, and we can make sure that families have the daycare that they need in order to access those programs, and also to move part-time workers to full-time work. Because when when every day schedule is different, that's a tax that is so taxing on families and on children, and we can avoid that with the universal childcare system. And then I would propose that the next issue, especially in light of this special election, is in this time that we are, like, if you don't have bangs now, you probably want bangs, right? Like, it has been so freaking hard. My lady friends know what I'm talking about. Like, when we get so stressed and we feel like we don't know exactly how to cope with that stress, we sometimes get the scissors out, right? We don't need to do that. We just need to unify as uh, as neighbors, as organizers, and take back the power that has been taken from us by special interests and by dark money and by inside arguing, finger pointing. We don't need to do that. We're all on the same team. We all want the same things. We just have different ways of getting there. What we need to do is sit down at the table and talk about those things.
Thank you, Serenity. Again, we appreciate you being with us today. Now, collectively, we're all organizations focused on business success and favor public policy that helps that is business friendly. So, how would you kind of define business friendly?
Get out of your way. Like, my father is a small business owner. For a while, he's a driver's ed instructor. I'm starting to realize that I come from a family of courage. Like, we just don't back down from the fight. And so he has been a driver's education teacher for about 20 years. He started his own business doing it. My sister works there. The woman that raised me also works there. And if this fails, I may have a job there too. We'll see. But my father and I are on different sides of the aisle, right? And the thing that we know to be true that we have in common when it comes to business is that we need to get out of their way. Like, I am not a small business owner, and so I don't know that I could make policy that reflects small business owners' values. My lived experience having a family member owning a small business is but, a little bit of insider knowledge. I think that small business know how to operate, that they are incentivized to do a great job, and that the community will line up behind the small businesses that add value to the neighborhood. And so, not adding to any more red tape or bureaucracy is the first place to start. The next place to start is to support small business in their endeavors to train in journeyman programs and in like apprenticeships, so that they can get the labor that they need, that they can build up and train up the people who are needed at their businesses on their own. And I think that the state could help and play a role in doing that.
Thank you. And to go along with the question, kind of a tag along with Tony's question, if elected, how do you envision working with the business community?
The same way I work with anyone. I show up and I listen. I have 2 ears and one mouth, and I should be listening a lot more than I speak. And this is so different from my work as a teacher and as a caseworker, right? I show up and I listen to people, and then I figure out exactly how I can help and where the need lies, and then we take action. So I've never talked this much in my life, and I'm tired of talking. I'd really like to go back to doing some listening, and that's how I would help the small business alliances. I would show up, I would listen with both my ears, and then work together to figure out how to, have the most impactful change and what's doable here at the local level.
Great, thank you. Now, if elected, obviously, one of the important critical parts is the approach to the process of crafting a state budget. And so can you kind of speak to what your general philosophy would be on spending and taxation as portioned critical parts of that budget process?
Well, I'm not a proponent of taxes on small businesses. Like, to me, I believe small businesses are working class entities. Just like my family are small business owners, and they are in no way rich, right? They dread tax season, right? Just like many of us other working class families. We, oh gosh, the taxes. I don't see my dad for like 2 months in the spring, and that's messed up. Like, we need to simplify tax codes for small business people first and foremost, and then also know that the state is supporting them in their efforts. If we need to raise taxes, there are corporations like excess of 1,000 employees, where if we and a CEO that's a multimillionaire, we can assess taxes there. We currently have one of the lowest corporate tax rates in the state of Michigan for the Great Lakes Bay Area, or the Great Lakes area. I believe that we are at 6%. Everyone else hovers between 7.9, 8, and 9%, except Indiana, but nobody wants to live there. Theirs is 4.9%. And so I think raising taxes, it would come to the corporate side. And we would only need to raise them 1 or 2% in order to pay for plans like universal childcare.
Well, Serenity, I want to say, first of all, thank you for being with us this morning. You've provided a lot of information. Is there anything that we haven't talked about, or specific areas of interest for you that you'd like to share with us today and our viewers?
I want to give a plug for citizenship. I think that running for office is the boss level of citizenship. Once you do this, you have fulfilled all of your citizenship obligations. So if there's someone watching who thinks, I can't run for office, I'm not smart enough, you're a liar. You are. I can't run for office, I don't know enough people. Well, they'll find you. I want to run for office, but I don't know how to fix anything or where the problems are. They will tell you. I am a follower of Christ, and we minister to the least among us, right? Running for office has turned ministering for me upside down. I don't have to go look for the people to help. They are coming and finding me. And I started doing the job, it seems like, as soon as I declared candidacy, because people were coming to me and asking for help. And though I had no authority as a senator to help them, I did have authority as a community member, and each of us has that same authority. And you can help people network. You can help people find the resources that they need to benefit their community. And that is the most fulfilling thing. And anyone can do this.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much, time again, for sharing your thoughts, your ideas, and more importantly, for giving the citizens of the 35th District a choice in this election. We appreciate you for being here, and we thank all of you for watching, and we look forward to having the other candidate interviews going forward. So please tune in. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to our viewers. I'm Eugene Seals Jr., President and CEO of the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Midland Business Alliance and Bay Area and Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce, we are pleased to bring you this recorded interview as we head into the February 3rd special primary election for the 35th State Senate seat. This is an opportunity for our viewers to get to know the candidates through the lens of business and economic development. Joining me this morning are Megan Saban, President and CEO of the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, and Tony Stamas, President and CEO of the Midland Business Alliance. And we're interviewing candidate Dr. William Morrone. Welcome, Dr. Morrone, and let's get started.
Already.
In 3 minutes or less, outline your platform, why you are running, and what qualifications you possess
as a policymaker? Also, can you describe what you believe this position would entail?
I'll start by saying thank you. I'm humbled to be in front of everybody today. And what drives me is my passion for human service. We have different political beliefs, but I have just spent 25 years as a physician. And I think I've kind of been boxed in by the popular culture media. They say, and he's chief medical examiner. I'm chief medical examiner for 5 counties. I report to 5 different sheriffs. I serve different investigations, and I report to county governments. So the first thing that I say makes me qualified is not that I'm the medical examiner. It's that I already work in multi-county government positions as a public servant. Just so happens that servant happens to be a doctor. The second reason why I really see this is important to me as human service, I'm a physician, and I'm very disappointed where healthcare has overlapped our businesses, and there's terrible choices that people have to make, and I've seen them. In 20 years, through patients' eyes, I have seen 360,000 patient visits, and I see Midland Bay and Saginaw through the eyes of those people as patients. The biggest complaint I have from all of my patients, and it's been ongoing for a decade, is when they want to get a job, they have to choose between giving up Medicaid because they're cut off to get a good job and hope they can replace health care. That's a zero-sum game. We should have a better system tapered so that you can ease into insurance benefits and have Medicaid and Medicare as a backup, and that you don't lose it because you go out and you get a job. That's a terrible choice. We want people to be strong and independent, and we want their families to flourish with realistic opportunities. It's the last point where you need to cut people off because they get a job, because I believe employment is part of keeping a healthy government and a healthy geography. The other thing that I've seen is behavioral health, and I say this because I evolved from primary care and family health, is in a terrible state. The average social worker therapist is 4 out of 100,000 in local areas, and that's 25% of the national average. We don't have enough therapists. This is important because chronic disease is a medical model, and whether it's depression, mood disorder, or addiction, because that's what I do, it's chronic disease. And if you keep people healthy, you also keep the families together, or you can reconstruct families and you can keep people at work. Now, where this overlaps into my job in law enforcement as a medical examiner is that we're not getting treatment to people from jail. That's what we need to do.
Great. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. What are the 3 most important issues facing the 35th District State Senate today, and how would you suggest those issues be addressed?
Well, you have to define how much time do you want? Like 1 minute, 2 minutes?
Sure.
Okay. Bay, Midland, and Saginaw all have different priorities. And when you come to the occupation and the healthy trades, Saginaw is recognized as material management and transportation, and the second employer is education. Midland is recognized as a manufacturer, and education and healthcare is second. And Bay City is office system services and food services as second. That's 3 totally different people. That's one for each would be hard to follow, but whoever takes this position has to be flexible and willing to learn about these different employment and business sectors. What is going to really hurt us the worst is plant closures. Business needs tax incentives. Business needs government loans because that's how you keep all these sectors healthy. Midland is blessed with a large provider, but the second largest provider is the county. So county governments are important. And government is the third largest provider in Saginaw. So we have to keep the governments healthy, and then we have to go to healthcare and see that the population is as healthy as the government. The government is regulating. The government provides guidance. So we need honest, transparent government and healthy government. And we hope to get that from the state, but government shutdowns disrupt some things. And I see myself, because of my experience in many different counties, as being the moderate, the peacekeeper. I'm the man in the middle, and I'm not an extremist on either side.
Great, thank you, appreciate that. Doctor, as organizations focused on business success, we favor public policy that's business friendly. How would you define policy that's business friendly?
I think a policy that's business friendly first has to be transparent. Everybody has a stake in the game. The last thing we need is privatizations and closed meetings. I've been participating for 20 years in the Michigan open meeting laws. And if you want to be business friendly, you have to offer things and look for feedback. We can't offer linear items. We have to think outside of the box and offer multiple issues. One of the biggest things that I've seen in business is they have to know our employees need to be healthy. And I would lean towards public policy that has the government take a public role in healthcare stronger. And the reason why I do that, and we call that universal healthcare, it frees up capital for the business. I don't think businesses should be bogged down in providing healthcare. Their goal is to make money and profits and employ people. And we are a rich nation. The idea of taking something closer to a universal healthcare is to free up the capital for the business, pay people more, come up with new innovative products. That's what I think healthy public policy is.
Thank you, Doctor. If elected, how do you envision working with the business community?
Well, like I said in the first 2 or 3 minutes, the business community, the major employers for Midland Bay Saginaw are all very different. So you have to be well versed in the different needs. One of the fastest growing sections that we can have is administrative services and offices, because it's a low startup cost. It's a building, a phone, and a computer. So we would offer places to come and bring data, business, and finance, because you don't have to build a warehouse. You don't need semi-trucks. And those are very structural, fluid issues. A good example in Saginaw is Morley. Morley made a lot of money and a lot of business by connecting and communicating. So that's the first thing. And I think there are some services that are underused. In Bay City, they have an iconic, beautiful riverscape. Bay City may be more suited for pleasure and recreation to bring businesses in that develop up and down the river. Now, some of these words scare people, but it'd be a good place for a ball field. It'd be a good place for a casino. And those issues are pleasure businesses, pleasure industries. And Midland's third greatest employer is government. I think what we want to be friendly for in government is to keep the regulations to a minimum. I am a moderate Democrat, but I believe in smaller government so that we can help people by reducing the burdens and the barriers of doing business in those three communities.
Thank you very much. If elected, how do you expect to approach the process of crafting a state budget? And what is your general philosophy on spending and taxation?
I believe the first thing you need to do, because of a 2 or 3 decade history of budget impasses, we need to put a law in place that first says if the two parties can't agree to a budget, then there's automatic spending cuts, but the government never shuts down, that the government keeps going, and everybody agrees that there should be some spending cuts. And when you get back, you can reabsorb the responsibility to increase those spending issues, but government shutdowns are really not acceptable. We're a powerful nation, and we're very well versed in many different businesses. Businesses don't shut down. They're more flexible. Governments shut down because sometimes they don't use business policies. So automatic cuts to prevent gridlock on budget items. And the House can work with the Senate to take some things back when things are taken away, but then it has to go to committee. But automatic, kind of like dead man switches, you couldn't agree to this, so this is the cut that everybody gets.
Very good. Thank you. I really appreciate your thoughts today. Do you have any specific areas of interest that we haven't covered already you'd like to touch on?
Well, the most important thing is there has to be a greater representation of medical services. And I'm going to be very specific about this. We talk about pairing, and we have a marketplace for insurance. One of the complaints that I've heard for the last decade is people spend money, get an insurance, and then their doctor says, I don't take that insurance. So I've had people in Midland tell me that their doctor wouldn't take their insurance when they were on Medicaid, so they had to go to Houghton Lake. That makes no sense. So there's some regulations that I think are really not profitable to send people out and make transportation dependent. We have to make the business simpler. Why do they have those crazy rules? Because there's a whole class of people sitting in cubicles that manage pharmacy and consults, and they add no value. We need to take that layer of fat in the government medicine out, and that's in Molina and Blue Cross and McLaren. And we need to make it, just like I said with the business and business pro policies, we need to make it more transparent. You can cut the costs out. And one of the original goals, 2 goals in the original Obamacare, was to lower costs and increase access. We've increased access, and now it's too complicated and we need navigators. You should never need navigators in a healthcare system. If you do, it's too complicated. And we were able to lower costs, but now those savings go to that middle layer, and that layer doesn't provide care. Closer care and better access to people's homes. And that's really important in the elderly.
Very good. Well, thank you for your thoughts on that. And in general, on all of our other questions, we appreciate you taking time to be with us, Doctor. I want to also thank our viewers for joining us and watching these videos. Please feel free to share these. We want to make sure that we get these out in the community so they can make an informed decision, and make sure that before or by February 3rd, you turn out to vote in the special primary election. Thanks again for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day and be safe.